Hello everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today, I want to share a story that's a tough one, but one I think many of you might relate to in some way. It's a story about love, trust, and the painful moment when you realize the person you do anything for isn't the person you thought they were. It's the story of a man we'll call Mark and his journey through heartbreak. Mark and Sarah had what everyone called a picture-perfect marriage. They met in college, fell in love fast, and built a life together from the ground up. They had 2 beautiful kids, a cozy house in the suburbs, and a circle of friends who adored them. From the outside, they were the couple everyone wanted to be. Mark was a devoted husband. He worked hard, but he always made time for his family. Date nights, school plays, family vacations, he was there for all of it. He believed their love was unshakable. But over time, small cracks began to appear. Sarah started working late more often. She became more private with her phone, taking calls in another room and quickly putting it away when Mark walked in. When he asked her about it, she'd just laugh it off, saying it was work stress or that he was being overly sensitive. Mark trusted her. He loved her. So he pushed his doubts aside, telling himself he was just being paranoid. He wanted to believe the best of the woman he'd built his life with. Then came the first major blow. One evening, Mark came home early to surprise Sarah and the kids. As he pulled into the driveway, he saw a car he didn't recognize parked out front. His heart started to pound. He quietly let himself in and heard voices coming from the living room, Sarah S. and a man S. He found her laughing with one of their mutual friends, a little too close, a little too comfortable. The friend left in a hurry, and the confrontation that followed was explosive. Sarah eventually broke down and confessed. It had been a moment of weakness, she claimed, a mistake. She swore it meant nothing, and that she loved only him. She begged him for forgiveness, tears streaming down her face, promising it would never happen again. Mark was shattered. The betrayal felt like a physical blow. His world, which had seemed so stable and secure just moments before, was now in pieces. Every instinct told him to walk away. But then he looked at his kids. He thought about the 15 years they had built together. Was he really going to throw all of that away over one mistake? He was a man who believed in second chances. He believed people could learn from their errors and that love could conquer even the deepest wounds. So, against his better judgment and the advice of his closest friends, he decided to give her another chance. He agreed to work on their marriage. The months that followed were a painful uphill battle. They went to counseling. They talked more than they had in years. Mark tried with every fiber of his being to rebuild the trust that had been broken. He wanted to believe her promises. He wanted to see the woman he first fell in love with. And for a while, it seemed like it was working. Sarah was more attentive, more affectionate. It felt like they were finally getting back on track. Mark allowed himself to hope again. He let his guard down, believing their marriage was stronger for having survived the storm. But that feeling of security was just an illusion. The old patterns slowly started to creep back in. The late nights at work, the secretive phone calls, the emotional distance. Mark's anxiety grew, a constant knot in his stomach. He felt like he was going crazy, questioning his own sanity. Was he just imagining things because of what happened before? Or was his gut trying to tell him something he refused to see? He desperately wanted to be wrong. The final devastating truth came on their anniversary. Mark had planned a special evening. He'd booked a table at the fancy restaurant where he had proposed, bought her a beautiful necklace, and left work early to get everything ready. He sent her a text in the afternoon, telling her how excited he was to celebrate with her. She replied a few hours later, saying a last-minute work crisis had come up and she'd be late. She told him not to wait, that she'd meet him at home later. Disappointment washed over Mark, but he tried to be understanding. As he sat alone at the restaurant, a friend of his happened to walk in. They chatted for a bit, and his friend mentioned seeing Sarah's car parked outside a downtown hotel earlier that afternoon. The friend thought nothing of it, assuming she was at a conference. But for Mark, those words hit like a lightning bolt. It wasn't a work crisis. It was a lie. His mind reeling, Mark paid the bill and drove to the hotel his friend had mentioned. His hands were shaking on the steering wheel. He didn't know what he was doing, only that he had to know the truth once and for all. He walked into the lobby, his heart pounding in his chest, and that's when he saw her. Sarah. She was standing by the elevator, laughing, her hand resting on the arm of another man, the same man from months before. They weren't hiding, they were smiling, looking at each other in a way she hadn't looked at Mark in years. In that single, soul-crushing moment, everything became clear. It wasn't a one-time mistake. It was a choice she had made and kept making. His second chance had been taken for granted, used as a cover for her continued deceit. He didn't scream. He didn't cause a scene. He just turned around and walked out. The image burned into his memory. The hope he had so carefully nurtured was gone, replaced by a cold, hard certainty. When Sarah finally came home that night, she found Mark sitting in the dark, her packed bags by the front door. There were no more tears from her, no more desperate pleas for forgiveness. She knew she'd been caught. The silence in the house was heavier than any argument they'd ever had. Mark looked at her, not with anger, but with a profound and empty sadness. He told her it was over. He had given her his trust a second time, and she had shredded it without a second thought. There would be no third chances. This story is a harsh reminder that while forgiveness is a powerful thing, trust is fragile. You can give someone a second chance, but you can't force them to be worthy of it. Mark learned that the hardest way possible, his journey to healing is just beginning. But the first step was choosing to respect himself enough to walk away from a love that was no longer real. Thank you so much for listening to this story with me today. It's a difficult topic, but an important one to discuss. If you've ever been in a similar situation, know that you are not alone and that choosing yourself is the bravest thing you can do. If you found value in this story, please consider liking the video and subscribing to the channel for more content. We appreciate you being here. Take care, and we'll see you in the next one.